This was a remodeler policy for renovations including existing structure that was submitted online. It was to ensure for 8 buildings that were going to be renovated. And based on the answers that were provided on the application online, everything flowed through the system. There wasn't any underwriting hold. Everything seemed to be okay on this risk. So a fire was reported. The fire chief said that there was some chemical base found, so it was an arson loss, and they suspected that it might be transients. And they made a comment to the adjuster that there had been past transient issues before. So as he starts digging and probing more, he finds out there actually has been 4 prior fire losses. Based on the fire reports that the police chief had provided to him, it reflected that it looks to be that the transients had set fire trying to keep themselves warm. They were all chemical based, so they were all considered arson losses. And based on the application that we received, it reflected that there had been no prior losses. Zurich does not write fire damaged buildings, especially with the structural components being damaged because of collapse. Zurich started looking at the policy for a potential of a policy rescission. A policy rescission means you void the policy and the policy didn't exist. If they decide on that, then that decision will then refund the premium back to the insured and the policy is canceled flat. So during that rescission discussion, we uncovered an MLS listing that was on Google, and it was at the time that the insured had purchased the property. And it showed all the buildings, and it actually showed the 3 buildings that were structurally damaged, and it was badly damaged. You can tell it was structural damage. We would not have entertained that. It is not eligible under Zurich's program for fire damaged buildings. And also, had we known that there had been these past fire losses before we were approached on the policy, it would not have been eligible under the program as well. So the agent did get a signed application. So that was right. They did say it was a remodeling project. That was accurate. Those buildings were going to be remodeled. Now the other 3 buildings, from what we understood, was going to actually be leveled and start as new construction. So what had happened, instead of our agent, when they went through the process online, completed our application and issued the policy from that, they did not print our application. What they did was they created an application in their online system and obtained a signature from the insured on that application. The agent can do that, but I do not advise with that. There is a reason we give you that print button, is for you to print our application, because it gives you every question that was asked. There is no doubt then when that insured signs that application that they did not misrepresent any of those answers on that question. That's your protection. Always check the Google search or get pictures from your insured, current pictures with dates on them. Maybe be a little bit of a detective and see if anything stands out that you need to probe for more questions for your insured. And I would also make sure that you go through policy conditions and explain why we ask these questions, because this is how the policy was delivered. If we find there's any misrepresentation, you know, the policy could be voided and rescinded and no coverage at all should a loss occur. So it's very important that this information is accurate.